back to Next Gen Investing, and it's time to talk the latest here with Microsoft and some fallout with OpenAI and all the drama right now that is entailing. So joining us to discuss more is Marley Kayden, of course, contributor here for the network. Marley, I mean, where to begin here? This is a really interesting story, one that caught my attention first thing because I was like, oh, the ongoing drama of OpenAI for some reason and Microsoft just never is quiet. So walk us through the latest.
It is not quiet. It is multi-layered. We have a lot to unpack here today. So like you said, the relationship is fraying at the seams. Multi-dimensional fray here, but they are now at risk of potentially messing with OpenAI's restructuring. Microsoft has a stake in whether or not they restructure, and then they have to have their stake in the company determined if a restructuring happens. But let's break it down even further. You mentioned that Wall Street Journal report. That is saying that OpenAI executives are debating accusing Microsoft of anti-competitive behavior and potentially even seeking a federal regulatory review of the terms of their contract. But this is potentially sticky because that could result in more government oversight that could ultimately fall on OpenAI itself. So that seems less likely. But why does all of this matter? Microsoft has injected $13 billion into OpenAI since 2019. It is a cornerstone of its AI strategy. But at the same time, they have competing AI services in place. So they are both competitors and partners. They have that now. They have been in talks for months to amend their partnership because OpenAI needs approval from Microsoft to move forward with this corporate restructuring that it promised to its recent investors. The big issue behind this is SoftBank. Japan's SoftBank has planned a $30 billion investment that hinges on that corporate restructuring, which cannot go through without Microsoft's permission. So that would make OpenAI's value $300 billion. Right now, they're valued at $157 billion. That was from their most recent funding round. So they obviously want that funding. But to get Microsoft to sign off, they have to agree whether Microsoft has access to intellectual property, which is this windsurf that everybody keeps mentioning. It's this coding startup, this AI startup that they are reportedly acquiring. But Microsoft has a competing AI coding software. So they don't want them to have access. They're floating the idea that both companies save themselves from regulatory headaches if Microsoft doesn't access it. But ultimately, the biggest issue is that for that restructuring to happen, they have to determine what stake Microsoft gets in the current company. Because right now, they don't have an equity stake in the company. And there's a few other things here. They have a big deal in their existing deal, which is from 2023, that says that Microsoft's access is very wide and very broad until OpenAI reaches a threshold of artificial general intelligence. Now, I don't know if any of you know what this is. I did not, so I looked it up, and it does not appear to actually have a firm definition. There are different experts and different thresholds that are there. There are things like the Turing test, which means that the AI has to be able to pass different language models. An AI has to be able to attend and graduate from college. An AI robot has to enter an ordinary home and make a cup of coffee. They're all different thresholds of what this AGI is. So many layers here that have to be proven. But the big one is it's heaps of money, right? I mean, how much money? So another outlet is reporting that it was in talks with some OpenAI executives off the record saying that OpenAI wants Microsoft to forego its rights to future profits in exchange for roughly a 33% stake in the restructured company. That is something that has reportedly been proposed, but neither company is commenting publicly. They're just saying they're optimistic about their future together. But a lot here. I mean, this is a daunting technological, financial, legal discussion that's going on.
Yeah, and it's already kind of complicated too, guys, because as you say, it's like, do they have an equity stake? Is it a partnership? Like, they obviously have the leverage of being the decision maker on whether or not this restructuring go in. So it's like, that sounds like a shareholder position. And so I know it's sort of murky in how it actually is framed, and it's not totally understood because of OpenAI's sort of non-for-profit and private nature at the moment. But like, they have a vested interest in OpenAI, however it's defined Who knows? Sometimes it's referred to as being the biggest outside shareholder. So if we just go through it that way, they're going to be the deciding factor. That's why they need the approval of Microsoft. But right now, Microsoft through 2030 has an access through the OpenAI IP. It also has this exclusive cloud hosting agreement, which we know the Amazons and the Alphabets want to get into that space with their cloud structure. So Microsoft's kind of like, hey, you want us to sign off on this, what are we going to get in return? That's where I see this. And the reason that I think the market kind of doesn't, at least in Microsoft's case, isn't really moving, is because Microsoft's going to get something in return. Whether they're a third the owner of this for-profit entity or they get some extended agreement they want or whatever, it's not going to be a zero-sum game. There's going to be something in return. So what's at stake for Microsoft? Not really anything. It's just a matter of what they ultimately get.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely have the leverage here. And really interesting to me that an AI company would put a clause into the contract that says their stake is limited once they reach this threshold that is not definable. You have an undefinable, vague threshold, and there is no definition reportedly in their contract of what that is. So I'm very, very curious about this, how you would agree that you reach this threshold of artificial general intelligence when there's no accepted definition.
I would even add one more thing. It's almost like they accidentally stumbled into success, where it's like you had this altruistic, not-for-profit entity that was going to just push the, technology forward. Then it's all of a sudden $300 billion is at stake, and it's like, well, we weren't that altruistic. I mean, we want to be profitable now.
I know, and I know that this has been something because Elon Musk was one of the original founders of OpenAI, then ditched his stake in it, and he's been very critical. Which I always wonder if it's a bad breakup, if he's just critical because he's Elon Musk right now, but he's been so critical about the structure in which they've remained for profit and the way they can get allowed with certain accounting practices that to me do raise some questions. But that's kind of been also part of, I think, the reason they've been able to grow at this pace was they've kind of been able to be a separate entity than the way a company traditionally is established. So I have a lot of questions about some of the red flags that are raised within all of this.
Yeah, it was a tax-effective structure. It's a nonprofit company that has a board that oversees its for-profit business. But to get that $300 billion valuation, they have to accept that SoftBank investment. That's one of their recent investors, which means that they have to have that for-profit subsidiary. So like Alex said, Microsoft is in the leverage position here. They have all the leverage. They cannot move forward without their permission. So it just depends how much is OpenAI going to have to give to get Microsoft to sign off?
You also imagine, too, SoftBank's making this investment for that valuation, probably assuming some of these, exclusive contracts are going to be opened up as well. I mean, you can't only do business with Microsoft and be worth $300 billion. So some of this is Microsoft's got to give up a lot. They're going to want a lot in return.